to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Potomac RPG Podcast. Wait, we're doing this again? I might have to revise my contract.
Welcome one and all to the Potomac RPG Podcast, your source for old news, tired conversation, and mediocre advice for all of your favorite tabletop role-playing games. I'm your host and long-term NPC turned player character, Adam.
I'm your newly introduced player character that the party trusts explicitly for reasons, Tom.
And I'm your uppity metropolitan scholar, trekking alone through uncharted wilderness, Ben.
Yes, you are. Well, welcome, guys, to the first episode of Season 2. Pretty awesome that we got through an entire year. Now we're coming into a new one. Some changes we're going to be making in the progress of Season 2 here, but we have new logo, new merchandise coming out, all that kind of stuff. How's it feel, guys, to know that you just went through an entire year of podcasting?
Yeah, that's cool.
It feels like it's been longer than a year, but
Yes,
also not longer than a year at the same time. Like it feels like we've been doing the podcast for a long time now, but then when you incorporate like the year in terms of other contexts, it doesn't feel like it should be a full year. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's been an interesting experience. I mean, it sucks that it had to be pandemic induced in a way, but I mean, even though we were planning on doing this even before the pandemic hit, but boy, it's just kind of this weird hazy fog that we've gone through for the last 12 months, and thank God we're coming out of it, and very excited to get back to in-person play and some sense of normalcy out there. But having a whole year under our belt, 50 episodes of a podcast, I think that's a pretty good accomplishment. And I think it's a pretty cool experience to go through.
Absolutely agreed. It's been a real experience, and I think we've all grown as players and definitely podcasters and DMs over that space of time. You put together some recap episodes, and it's just been really fun listening to them. See,
we've come a long way, baby.
Our perspectives are
well. Hey, last night, holy shit! Like we had a hell of a session last night. We're in Avernus still with Steve's campaign, and I lost count as to how many people went down. I think there were only 3, but I did twice. Wow, what a battle last night. And to think the first half of last night's session was mostly RP stuff, and then the second half was the battle. But boy, was it ever an intense one. Tom, how you feeling after last night?
I don't know how the next session is going to go, because we're still technically in combat in a way.
Yeah.
So
we haven't rested in 3 sessions.
Ages.
Yeah.
Ages.
And the thing is I know it was a running joke of like, oh, I ran out of spell slots because the first spell I used was to Misty Step up to the parapet of the fortress, and no one followed, and that was basically kind of a waste of a spell. And I had to use spells because a lot of things went sideways pretty quickly. Yeah. But there was kind of a running joke that I didn't have any spells left, but that was just an assumption. I did have more than half my spell slots were used, but if I would have had no spell slots, we would have died.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And at this point, I have one level 1 spell slot, and it's still going.
Yeah, looking back, it was such a waste. Like when you Misty stepped up there, and then we're like, nah, we're gonna go this way instead. I mean, number 1, kind of a dick move by us, and number 2, definitely a waste of resources. We could have used that spell slot certainly in that battle. And now we're in a situation where we have some an NPC allies on the ground, and we're up on this wall and still engaging in this boss fight. And I don't have any spell slots. Tom, you don't have any spell slots. I don't even know if Nick has any spell slots left.
He does not.
it is going to get real nasty. So looking forward to it. It was a great session. Yeah, we managed to survive for now, except for that one vampire dude who got slaughtered. But all of the party are alive at the moment. We'll see how long that lasts. But getting into the topic for today, we're starting season 2, and it got me thinking of fresh starts. And a pretty unique thing that we experience in game is when a new character is introduced into an existing campaign, whether it's due to a character death, a retirement, or a new player coming into the group. The introduction of a new character is into an already established party can be a tumultuous time. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, bringing a fresh new character into an existing campaign. Now, Tom, this most recently happened to you when Andreas died and you introduced Solaris. How did you feel about the integration of Solaris into the current story?
In terms of like plot and bringing them into the story, I think Steve and I worked pretty well on, like where they would be and how, and getting into the proper mindset of who the individual character is. And it's been a very unique and also very fun experience, trying to bring this character forward, with a different perspective, from the party. Like, what have they been through? What is their viewpoint in the world? They've been in hell for X number of weeks or months, and what toll would that have on them and their perspective and what they want. And it's really interesting kind of building a character off of a established campaign, because somewhat of the stakes. I feel like with a lot of, both as a DM and as a player, unless you already know kind of the plot line of the campaign, when you're coming with a new character, you're coming in with either a heavily pre-created character that's not going to necessarily jive with the campaign, or it's going to be a blank slate that then will grow with the campaign. So it's a very unique position. As in terms of how their integration with the party is, I mean, they've almost died twice due to party actions. One was intentional. They've been attempted murder by the party. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, in their defense, I mean, Solaris is kind of a dick. I mean,
I went with very much the cliche of the noble wizard. So they are a bit aloof. There were other factors that, artificially modified their psyche. So their filter was gone, and they were a bit more rude and belittling, that they normally hide because of that effect. And that's what led to the determination that they should die.
Attempted murder. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, Ben, now you've never had to, Belle was somebody you had to introduce into an existing campaign, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But outside of that, what your perspective is after your character dies and is brought back, like they're the same character, but they're also not. And I'm kind of curious, like let's take Yarrow, for example, who came back as undead. How does that shift your approach to role-playing your character whenever they've died and now come back with maybe unknown, as the case is with Porto with the pact with his patron, unknown things happening in the background? What's that like?
Yeah, that it definitely takes up the level of, I mean, it's a little uncomfortable and a little exciting at the same time. You've got a big base to go off of in the character, but it's all kind of framed in a different light now that you've been risen from the dead, or coming back as an undead version of yourself. And some of the relationships that you have with the other characters perceptibly change now that you are different. So fortunately we didn't have any like anti-undead people in the party but nobody was like, oh yeah, you're undead, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I gotta admit, I'm on pins and needles because I know something's up with Porto. You don't just come back from the dead, and everything's fine. It's been probably about a good like 7 or 8 sessions since you've come back, right?
That's true.
Something like that.
Porter keeps a tight lip.
Yeah, we have yet to discover what the downside of you coming back was, and each session that goes on with us not knowing makes me more and more nervous. And one of these days, that other shoe's going to drop, and it's going to be super painful for all of us. I just I'm in total suspense and agony at the moment.
I think you're right. And so just to tell you about Yarrow, I don't know exactly how much this is appreciated, but the downside of her coming back as undead with special abilities was that she was grooming our next BBEG through her connection to him.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
She was birthing a BBEG.
Oh my goodness.
Little baby BBEG.
Mama Yarrow coming through with the BBEG. All right. Well, that's super interesting. Now, going back to Bell, that was our very first campaign. We were an established group, and not only were you bringing in a new character, but you were a new player to the group. What did that feel like?
Oh yeah, that was so much anxiety. You guys had been playing at like really high level D&D for months, and I worked with Matt, and he would come in every Monday and we would talk about exactly what happened in his D&D campaign, all these really tremendous exploits, and so I had little bits of the story and all of these great things that he was saying about all of you as players and DMs. So it was anxious. I had to bring my A game, and I got really into Bell's backstory and tried to make him as solid a character as possible using the Ranger class.
Well, I think Bell did a good job, and Finbin certainly glommed onto him pretty quick. I think we even rode a dinosaur together, if I'm not mistaken.
Dinosaur racing.
So, I mean, once you do a dinosaur race with somebody, you're pretty much friends for life, in my opinion.
You guys were beard bros.
We were.
That's true.
Finbin didn't have much of one, but he was trying. He was trying. But no, it really interesting perspectives, and you really feel for people whenever they're trying to kind of walk this minefield of how to integrate this new character into an existing plot. But to get deeper into this, let's get into some questions for the week. Our first Reddit post comes from Reddit user Non-Canon, who asks, "Most of my party was just captured and one character died. I don't know how to introduce their new character. Long story short, the players were sneaking into the tunnels under a coliseum and were caught by the guards/animal handlers and were all reduced to 0 during the fight. Most of the party either succeeded on their death saves or were stabilized by another character. One failed 3 consecutive death saves. My plan for most of the party is for them to wake up in cells designed for people in those tunnels, and then they have to escape. The player whose character died has a new one ready, but I don't know how I'm going to integrate them. They can't just be another prisoner because the games ended that day, and I've already established that all the other prisoners down there were killed earlier in the games. I don't want them to just swoop in and save the party because it doesn't make sense for one character to be able to do something that the entire party essentially failed at. I also don't want them to have to wait for the party to escape before they meet up because I have no idea how long that will take. Please help." So, Ben, what do you think about this? What's a good way to integrate this new character to the rest of the party?
Yeah, that's a good question. You got to get somebody into the well-guarded dungeon underneath the Colosseum where you've already said that everybody has been cleared out of there.
It's thumbs on this one. This is tough.
My first inclination would be to say, "Oops, the guards missed one." I mean,
where were you hiding, little guy?
Exactly. Maybe you've got a rogue or something, walks in shadows, or we thought this one was dead, something like that. Yeah.
Well, another way to think about this is if there are no more prisoners, but obviously the party was captured, so there's guards. and animal handlers. Well, just because they're a guard or animal handler doesn't mean they're happy with where they're at or what they're doing. So you could have basically someone who helps the party escape because they are actually, rebelling against, what they're doing and or taking pity on the party, or they're secretly some agent of whatever. And, they want to pull you out of there because of reasons, whatever it might be. But maybe it's actually one of the guards or animal handlers there that has a reason to assist the party in escaping. Tom, what do you think?
You kind of hit the nail on the head for part of what I was thinking of is, a disgruntled employee, like one of the guards is not happy and decides to, help the party get out. Another aspect I was thinking of is, you're a little short for a stormtrooper. It sounds like based off of what limited information I have, it sounds like the party tried to sneak in, failed the stealth check, and, all the guards descended upon them, and there was a big fight, and they lost. It could be kind of what you were alluding at, Adam, someone who snuck in or is pretending to be a guard, but it's only one person. Yeah. It's much easier for the less people you have trying to sneak in, the less likely you're going to get detected. And it might be basically a mole, a plant of an individual who's there to try to smuggle people out. And since these guys are going to be in the next round of prisoners, they take the opportunity to blow their cover and, reveal themselves to try to, and then that could lead to another aspect of the campaign where they're trying to take this place down, because I'm assuming that's why they were trying to break in the first place. So they could be, an agent of that, and that would open up to a lot of different class possibilities. Because yes, a rogue could sneak in, but even if you had like a fighter or even some sort of caster, they could just be basically a guard who is undercover.
Maybe this is a animal rights activist. Obviously there's animal handlers that snuck in, and maybe this person is now also a little ticked off at the party because they ruined everything. They come in here clomping around, draw all this attention, and get captured. And now, I'm trying to blend in with the guards when all this is happening. Now I don't have an easy escape route anymore because these buffoons just, sent the whole thing spiraling. So now maybe there's also a bit of a antagonistic relationship as well. Like, all right, well, I guess you're my only hope, even though I hate you guys right now, kind of thing to kind of work out. Might work.
Or hear me out here.
All right, I'm listening.
There are animal handlers, which means there's animals. Druid wild shape.
I see where you're going.
The one of the animals is actually the new player character, polymorphed.
And snap! That's great.
And their polymorph breaks. Granted, it have to be like some sort of like true polymorph, like long term thing, for rules sake. But it's the kind of the whole, the princess and the frog, like they are trapped, and then something that the party did or their antics caused this person to be freed from this form, and now they will help the party.
Not bad, Tom. Not bad at all. All right. Well, hopefully that gives non-canon some ideas to work with. I think the most important thing is to make sure. I agree with what they said about not waiting until they get out of there. It sounds like it's going to take multiple sessions for them to get out. Now, if that's the only way to make it work, that's the only way to make it work. But I definitely think the correct thinking is trying to find a way to have that new character be in there to assist, because otherwise they'll be sitting on the sidelines for quite some time. So hopefully that helps you out there, non-canon. Best of luck in the rest of your campaign.
I have news here.
And the sound of Ralphie the News Goblin can mean only one thing. It's time for Potomac RPG News. All right, so it's been a while since we've been in on the latest, but about a week and a half ago, Wizards released a new Unearthed Arcana. This time it's Draconic Options. Again, I really like the approach to UA that they've been taking lately. It's pretty cool. So this one is obviously all about Draconic stuff, and we have additions to the Dragonborn race, feats, and spells. Tom, as you're looking through this list of UA, what do you think about this latest release?
So I'm in love with the gem dragons because they're a very underappreciated and underutilized aspect of dragons in D&D. They have existed. There are some mentions of it. I think there's a one shot or like a small source material that you can get. It's about sapphire dragons, but I would love to see more of the lesser known dragons brought into the forefront. I love the gem dragon. It seems very powerful. I mean, you're getting fly or you're getting wings. It's very much a that I could see a lot of DMs, doing like the Aarakocra aspect of it, where you get fly, you're not allowed to have it.
Yeah.
But I really love the psionic aspect because it's very unique and different from the whole. Oh, is it metallic or is it chromatic? It's a completely, there's a lot of depth there that I think we could would bring some new unique aspects to a D&D game. The chromatic, also very powerful. The ability to make yourself immune to your to one of the elements is it's going to be either very powerful or very weak, depending on if your DM is going to only throw things you're resistant to or can be immune to, or never do that because they don't want you to become immune to something. So I feel like it could be very polarizing. I could see people trying to metagame with it, but it again, it adds a lot more depth than Dragonborns are inherently weak in a lot of the 5th edition material. They're the only thing that was I feel is worse than that was the kobold or the grung because they had weaknesses. But
you and your damn grung, you
well,
love
I'm saying
grung.
Is an example
Why
of the
do you like
weaknesses.
grung so much?
The example of the weaknesses of the kobold they've fixed used to have a -2 strength, which is one of the few PC races that actually had a minus in 5th edition, and then the grung with the water, which makes them unusable.
Let's not forget sunlight sensitivity for kobolds. That's pretty harsh.
That is harsh.
That's also another one too. So the I feel like those were the only, like, in terms of the least optimal races based off of like punishments for the race. Dragonborn were very lackluster and kind of in that second tier. But this really brings them to the forefront, except for the metallic Dragonborn. The metallic Dragonborn are meh at best. You get they don't really, like, unless you're really bringing forward the metallic dragon lore, I feel like they really missed an opportunity to bring that forward. Like the metallic breath weapon, yes, some of the metallic dragons have a alternative breath weapon that's like a pushback effect, but it doesn't really do much. It's like, especially with 5th edition mechanics, it's like, oh, I knock someone prone, they stand up and then walk to me. Like, it doesn't. There's there's a lot of mechanics that in theory would work, but in practice they're kind of lackluster.
Yeah, very dependent on turn order on something like that.
And the thing is that in a lot of the metallic dragon lore, I think it's silver dragons and some of the more abstract metals, they're very big about being polymorphed into humanoid forms and learning and gaining knowledge and living experiences. There are I can't remember the specific metallic dragon type, but there is one that their horde is actually memories. They will live a life as a humanoid creature, have a family. They actually have part of their polymorph that lets them have children and grow old and everything. And then when that polymorph like body dies, they turn back in their dragon form. They go and meditate and document all of their memories as that lifespan, and then actually meditate to repress all of those memories so that they can have a new life with new experiences without their previous experiences to taint it. And it's like a hoard of knowledge and experiences of life. And I think an element of that would have been great for the Metallic Dragonborn would be some sort of polymorph ability, like once per day, like a true polymorph ability, similar to the Changeling, or some of the existing races where you can actually change your form to another humanoid race without breaking the game. I think that would have been a great element that would have brought the lore to the forefront.
Gotcha. Well, interesting. Well, Ben, looking through this, like that's pretty a good background on the race features. Yeah, what do you think looking through all this?
Yeah, it's fun. This is the first time that I've really seen something related to gem dragons being presented in D&D 5e. I just haven't picked up on any of the other material before. They're very interesting.
Let's get into like the feats and spells aspects. Are any of those kind of grabbing you right now?
So the feats, they are pretty fun. I like the feats especially because it doesn't have to be for a dragonborn. Anything with a hint of draconic heritage or presence of a dragon somewhere in their history or backstory, etc., then you can get the gift of the particular dragon type and get a touch of what are actually some pretty strong feats. I like these.
I'm especially looking at like the gift of the gem dragon, and I know it doesn't seem like much, but being with my character Tormid being an artificer who's not really a frontline fighter, I currently have the repulsion shield, right? So the enchantment or infusion, I should say, and the ability that if a creature comes at you and attacks you, and basically forcing them back out of range and taking force damage is a really neat ability. It can save your ass in a number of different situations and keep you from getting kind of surrounded or stuck in a combat and having to take an opportunity attack or disengage as an action to get out of there. That gift of the gem dragon, that's pretty cool. I like that one.
Yeah, I could think of a couple of multi-attack creatures that if you get hit on the first attack, blasting them away so that they can't get the next two attacks or more, that would be life-saving.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm looking through some of these spells too. And can we just be done with fire stuff? I am so tired of fire stuff. So they got Flame Stride in here. Okay, great, whatever. But what I really like are things like I don't know how to, Tom, maybe you know how to pronounce it, Rothalims? Does anybody know? Rowlothims, Psychic Lance.
Rowlothims.
Okay, sure, whatever. But like it's a 4th level spell, so this is pretty. We're starting to get up there in spell ability. But basically, target takes 10d6 psychic and is incapacitated until the start of your next turn. So you're wiping out that enemy for 1 turn at least. Pretty significant damage. I really like that a lot. We have a summon Draconic Spirit, so that pretty straightforward. You get to summon basically a spiritual dragon. Yay, whatever. But so some of these are really cool. The whole the Fizzband's Platinum Shield. You can basically summon this thing to protect you or anybody else, whoever you choose, and you can move it around to different people as needed, and you get half cover. So there's +2 AC, resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, and poison damage, and the creature subjected to an effect to make a dex save. Take only half damage, instead takes no damage. That's a huge shield. Like if somebody gets surrounded, that is a huge bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame that these spells are all pretty high levels. I mean, that one is 6th level.
6th level, yeah. We'll never get.
Yeah, you never. No, D&D play doesn't ever get that high, and then you'd have to get a platinum plated dragon scale too. It's it's a bit
yeah.
Although when I first looked at it, I thought it said Finbin's platinum shield. I'm like, wait a minute.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, as a whole, let's kind of do this with Unearthed Arcana. I don't know what kind of rating system we want to use here, whether it's stars or out of 10 or whatever you make up. Tom, what ranking would you give this UA?
There's a lot of good stuff in here. I would probably give it a solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. All right. Ben, how about you?
I love my dragons. I mean, it's in the name, more dragon, more awesome, but it's not enough for me. A lot of the time with the Unearthed Arcanas, I'm just like, wow, yes, this is great. I want to play this. But this one, I'm like, okay. So maybe a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. You know what? I'm going to go with you on this, Ben. Like I'm kind of, it's good. I'm looking through and there might be a couple of things I'd be interested in playing with. This is my own bias. Dragonborn is not really, high up on my list as it is, but those feats are pretty cool and the spells are pretty cool. I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. So a pretty good job by Wizards on this one. Definitely above average in terms of their UA that's come out. But not a whole lot that I'm ready to create a new character just so I can try this stuff out. But if you are interested, we'll have a link in the show notes. You can take a look at the new UA if you haven't seen it already, and have fun with it. Would love to hear from anybody out there as to how your experience with these new Draconic Origins went for you. So we're going to step out for a moment here, but stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
As any tabletop role player would know, coffee is an essential commodity for those 4-hour sessions we all go through. And a great place to get that coffee is foundfamiliar.com. Found Familiar is a couple of people with a passion for coffee creation and D&D, and they've teamed up with favorite artists from all around the world to bring specialty grade coffee that celebrates the creativity sparked by Dungeons & Dragons and other TTRPGs. Use the coupon code Potomac RPG, all one word, at checkout for 10% discount on your purchase. That's at foundfamiliar.com. And with that, let's get back to the show.
All right, let's get into another post here. This question comes from Reddit user Throw Me Off the Building. Sure, who asks, player wants to use a different character. So we've been playing the campaign for a bit now, probably 6 or 7 sessions. It's been a while. COVID messed up a lot. And they are all level 5. My one player has expressed to me that he's gotten pretty bored of his character and has been struggling to have fun playing him. Should I let him just play a new one? And if so, what do you think would be a natural way to introduce that character and get rid of the old one? So, Ben, a player is tired of their character. Do you make them suffer through or let them bring in a new one?
Oh, this is always sad when it happens. Everybody wants to be having a good time when you're getting together to play this game, DM and players alike. And if it's not happening, then something's got to change. And in which case I'd say that, let your player create a new character and do everything you can to make sure that they have a connection to that character and that they're going to be invested and they're going to have a lot of fun playing it. So a long time ago, like 30 episodes or so ago, we had some. There was somebody who wrote in and said, "I just can't I can't get a good character that makes me feel invested in the game. And they'd gone through a series of characters, and none of them were working. And it just seemed like they weren't creating the backstory, the emotional attachments to the character, and the relationships with the other characters in the party, really getting into the world. I think that's part of what this player is missing, is the being embedded in the mindset of their game and their character, and making it an experience instead of just stats on a page.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm curious about with this question is, is this a pattern yet? Or maybe they don't know if it's a pattern yet, but I think before you make that choice of, yes, go ahead and roll up a new character, we need to figure out why it got boring for that character, or like what specifically was going on that they thought was boring, or was it just the backstory didn't make sense? Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, I thought I'd like this class and I just don't. It's not fun. That happens plenty of times, and if it's just a matter of, hey, I picked the wrong class and it's just not my wheelhouse, then that's fine. But I'd want to make sure of that before I say, yeah, go ahead and roll up a new one. What do you think, Tom?
So one thing that really caught my eye was, the 6 or 7 sessions and they're level 5. That seems very fast to me of a level up. Like either
unless they started higher.
Either they started higher or they've power leveled, because I know Storm King's Thunder is very much a power level. You have to be at least level 7 before you get to the good part of the story.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, because one thing that I've appreciated with new characters that you don't necessarily get with when you're starting in the middle of a campaign is, if you're starting at level 1, everyone's starting at level 1, and you're getting to know the character and getting to know the class, and they're developing as they go, versus a lot of pre-fronted, you're starting at level 5 in the campaign, and there's not even that plot line that's established as if you're bringing a new character into an existing campaign that you can work with. So a lot of, I think, the preconceived notions of what that character should be might not sit right. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that it might be like a part of it. Like what I'm getting as, like what you said, Adam, is that maybe they didn't necessarily like the class. Like they thought when they built it that this should be, as fun, but it might also be that they just haven't had a chance to grow into the character because they're starting so late in the character design and development stage.
Yeah. Well, and there's also the idea behind the DM asking, okay, is there a way to save this character? Is there something the DM might be able to do to kind of bring this character back into the fold, or have some excitement come to the character? Because it might just be, I've had several characters who have not been built well. Even my current character, Tormid, is not built very well. Like he has very little bonus actions that he can do. He's very limited. The stats aren't bad, but they're not great. So it's, and I screwed up my cantrips beyond belief. So luckily I can change them, like I think every 6 levels or something. So that'll take a while. But there's ways to bring the character out a little bit more and have it be more based on what's going on in the story rather than how I built my character. So definitely some investigation needed from the DM on this. Let me ask you, Ben, have you ever gotten bored of a character?
Yeah, so for a time, Yarrow, her gameplay wasn't that great, just because I picked a subclass, the what was it called?
Was it a monk subclass?
The elemental subclass of monk.
Way of the 4 elements.
Way of the 4 elements, yes. And it's a really underpowered subclass for monk. Anytime you want to actually use some of the subclass features, you essentially burn all of your ki. And that's it.
Wow.
So in actual combat, which is at least a third, it's usually much more than a third of the D&D experience, that it was a little lackluster. And, you know, monks, they do a lot of attacks, but each one of those attacks is not particularly strong. So she wasn't racking up the big damage numbers. And after the first few levels, when we actually had found armor and shields and such, and we're no longer naked and scared, she she had the lowest armor class of anybody in the party except our wizard. So
yeah, that's tough. Like, and just thinking back, especially Matt has a tendency to really be able to build characters well for at least some aspect of some crazy damage. And I think he was Arn back then, which wasn't a storm cleric or something. And like he could just
oh yeah, like always impressed.
These fools. Yeah, it was, and you're sitting back there, and a lot of my characters sometimes, like I'm sitting there with an AC of 15 or 16, and everyone else has like 22, and it's just like, man, I can't do anything here compared to everyone else in the party. It can be a little depressing.
Yeah,
and one other element too, like I think one of you guys probably touched on it already, but why are they bored? I think that's the big question that I don't know. Like, are they bored because the campaign is very RP based and they're into combat and they want to change their character to be more to fit the campaign better, or vice versa? Is the campaign very combat based and they want to be more RP? In which case, if as the DM, you don't necessarily want to get rid of the character, see if there's a way to incorporate that. Maybe have some sort of, maybe they're a bard and they are getting bored with the character because it's mostly combat based of a campaign. Is there a way that you can make their character shine by bringing elements in that they would then have fun with, because that's how they built their character?
Yeah. Don't bring a sorcerer to a sword fight.
Yes. And if they really, after you've discussed that and tried it, if they still would like to try something different and they have their own, what they want to do with their new character, just let them do it. And I feel like the simplest way is just to, have their character like leave for some reason and, have a plot reason and have the new character be present. Try not to make it too complicated. But if the player wants their character to die, like they don't want to just have their character walk away, then you need to have that conversation with, yes, that's fine. But that might take some time if I'm not, depending on how the game goes and how combat heavy or how threatening, creatures are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of ran into this with your campaign, Tom, with my Goliath Druid Narok. We were, I believe, up to level 7, if I'm not mistaken, and I had loved the character. The character was good, and even enjoyed this Circle of the Stars Druid as a class. First time playing a Druid, really cool. But RP wise, and kind of like the play style of that druid got to a point where I was ready to be done with him, and it worked out so well. I was actually able to retire Narok, which was a really cool story beat. Like, you're so used to losing a character through death that the idea of the character leaving on good terms and having that scene where they're saying goodbye to the rest of the party, and then Narok flies off on the back of an ice dragon. I mean, it was very picturesque, very cool to do it that way. So it doesn't always have to be death. If there's a story beat that makes sense for that character to leave, that can be just as impactful a moment. So for Throw Me Off, it sounds like you got to do a little bit more investigating here. Maybe already, which is great, and can dig into this a little bit more. But definitely make sure you find out the reasons why they're bored of that character. See if you can save it, and if not, make sure the send off is a good one, whether that's in glorious death or that player walking away, or that character walking away. Maybe on a good note, rather than pissed off at the party and storming off in a huff. So best of luck out there. Would love to hear how your campaign goes from here. But there are thousands of crazy stories about how new characters get introduced and the sticky situations they find themselves in. So let's see if you two can figure out the one that doesn't belong in our segment, Say It Ain't So. Welcome to Say It Ain't So, where we see if our two guests can spot the one that doesn't belong. So here's how it'll work. We'll each read a green text story about introducing a new character. 2 will be true, 1 will be false. It is your job to figure out which one is the made-up one. So, you two ready?
Ready.
All right, let's play the game. So I've sent both of you a story or a post from D&D Green Text for you to read. Ben, let's start with you. What is your D&D Green Text story?
We've got Best Served Cold. Be me, dead. Be rest of party. Fighter, ranger, cleric, and warlock. Last character left behind to die by rest of party. Kinda messed up. Used me as bait and then escaped. Be me. Angry with them, but don't show it. Be me. New rogue character. Party currently trying to find way out of city before found by Thieves Guild. DM introduces me. Tell them I can help them escape the city. Lead them through a series of tunnels and into sewers. Where are we going? I tell them not to worry. I know my way through sewers. Check with DM on location. Lead them into room connected to sewers. Let them go in first to clear the room. Once they're in, lock the door. No one has lock spell. Surprise.jpg. This is the Thieves Guild headquarters. Party bangs on the door to let them out, which attracts Thieves Guild thugs. Entire party captured. I walk away with a smile on my face. Time to roll a new character.
Nice. All right. So that was Best Served Cold. Tom, what's your story?
Rescued. My previous character died in a dungeon run, so our DM said that I was in a fancy cell in the floor of the room where my character died. He told me I was staying there because I was invited. So this is my in-character perspective of what happened. Be me. Be Tiefling Bard. Be about a month ago. Find cool mage in my travels. Says he's working on a project. Invites me to take part. Says all I have to do is stay in a luxurious room. Says there'll be even be excellent room service. Agrees to pay me too. Takes me to Shadowfell. We go underground into what's basically an inverted tower. Takes me to luxurious room he described. I have a neighbor in the larger room. He's an ancient dragon. Seems like a cool guy. I befriend him. We talk every day and play games together. Be today. Some group of wannabe adventurers comes crashing through the ceiling of neighbor's room. They kill my neighbor. They open the door. You are being rescued. Excuse me, what the F? They killed an ancient dragon. They could easily kill me if I run. Reluctantly, I follow them. They say they're going to kill the mage. They find him. He's guarded by a pit fiend and 2 bodyguards. Use my bardic powers to quickly disguise myself as one of his bodyguards. Run over to warn him. My kidnappers effing kill the pit fiend before I can even open my mouth. The mage teleports away in panic. I'm told I need to come back with my rescuers, in quotes. I'm told I'm being recruited into their guild. Guesses this is my life now. That's sad.
Right. Yeah,
That's
that is sad. That is a little sad. All right. The last one I have here is Fireball Addiction. Be me, Party Druid. Our party takes a quest to clean out undead from an abandoned mine. Quest giver specifically cautions us not to use torches as there are pockets of natural gas in the mine. All of us have dark vision or similar abilities, so it's not a big deal. In the mine, I wild shape into a wolf and lead the way with my enhanced senses. The DM describes the smell of rotting flesh that serves as my trail, as well as another scent we come across on occasion that forces my eyes wide open. I've never smelled natural gas before, so I don't recognize the new scent. After a bit of exploring, we run into a group of undead miners, roll initiative. Most of us take our turns. I maintain my wolf form and manage to rip an undead's leg off. The wizard's turn comes. I cast Fireball. You cast what? The player doesn't seem to take the hint. I said I cast Fireball. That's what I thought you said. The DM turns to his Amazon Alexa, which he uses to play ambient music during the game. Alexa, kaboom! Oh bleep. A loud explosion noise plays and the room's lights flash off and on. That's pretty cool. The DM shakes the table, displacing everything on it. Afterwards, the DM explains how the wizard's fireball ignited a natural gas vent. If the explosion didn't kill us, the subsequent cave-in definitely did. The session ends there. Everyone is either stunned silent or laughing out loud. The following week, we start fresh. When the wizard player makes his new character, he's banned from giving that character any fire-related abilities. He admits he didn't intend to blow up the campaign, but it was 100% worth it. So, we have Best Served Cold from Ben. We have Rescued from Tom and Fireball Addiction from me. Ben, we'll turn to you first. Which of those three were made up?
It was Best Served Cold. This one.
Best Served Cold. All right. Why do you think that one?
This one is just way too straightforward.
Oh, okay. All right. Makes sense. Tom, how about you?
I would say mine, Rescued.
Rescued? Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
It's way too... It really throws the one player under the bus, I feel. Like if they're doing this, and it does it while the other one is kind of like getting back at the party, and it's a temporary, like, the Best Served Cold makes sense. Like I could see that happening, and also I could see, like with my call in, the party just believes the new PC because they're the new PC.
Yeah.
And could get away with that pretty easily. Mine just seems very railroady towards making it a bad experience for another player.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, the correct answer was Best Served Cold. Ben, you had it right. That was the made up one. The other two are completely 100%, at least according to Reddit, true. So good job on Say It Ain't So this week, guys. Another bad aspect of our games is realizing that these are true.
Yeah.
That's just so sad. But thanks for playing the game. Let's get into our last post of the week. This comes from Reddit user Plantain2420, who says, need advice about what to do about current characters. So this is a massive question. So I'm going to skip ahead. But just to start, my first time D&D player here, I need some advice about my current character and party. So I'm going to skip down about halfway through this, but the group is taking a break for now, but the next session will have a small time skip. Our DM told us that we could take our deciding about what our characters do during the time skip, or if any of us want to create new characters. Honestly, I'm thinking of making a new character because I'm not sure what to do with my character now. My cleric has just found out that the party has made a deal with a devil and tried to stop him from attacking it rather than save him, or because the devil is their friend. I don't know. Okay. Not only that, but throughout multiple sessions, he's seen the party steal and lie. So on one hand, my character morally probably wouldn't want to be around the party after everything. But if I make up a reason for him to go with the party, he will probably bug the other players with his personality. This happened before. Or I will probably have to corrupt him at some point so he fits in more with the party. But I rather like his current personality and don't really like the idea of correcting him. However, our paladin, after breaking his oath, is probably going to an oathbreaker now, which means we lost one of our healers. The druid can kind of heal, but it was mostly my cleric and the paladin that would do the main healing. I can make my next character a healer, but there's also no guarantee that my next character will be that good at healing like my current character. So this is what I need advice on. Do I keep my current character and either change him to fit the party more, or keep him the same, but the party will probably hate me? Or do I just make a new character that personality-wise would fit better, but may not be as good gameplay-wise? Maybe I am overthinking or overreacting about this, but could still go for some advice. So interesting one here, Tom, and it kind of follows a similar pattern to Andreas. How should this player handle the situation?
I mean, similar is an understatement, but
yeah, it's like pretty much spot on,
yeah,
right?
Making deals with devils and all that jazz.
Yeah. I wonder if they killed the Duke by chance, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Is this Steve? Is it the
yeah,
Steve's
it's probably
question?
Steve, and he just relabeling it, so he gets an honest answer from me. If you're not having fun with the character, and it's also a struggle when I personally play D&D to feel included and to feel part of, you're working towards a common goal with like-minded people, and you're kind of, it's fun to in a social aspect. it is not fun when you feel like the, wet blanket or the bad guy because you're supposed to go against what everyone else is doing, because reasons, whether it's because of a moral fiber of your character, it's expected of your character, you're the good cleric and, everyone else is doing bad things that you should have a problem with because you're the cleric, but also you're supposed to let it slide because it's a D&D party and you can't just be in their way all the time. It's uncomfortable and it's not fun in a lot of ways, but talk with your DM, and I think try to find a new character. Now, on the flip side, to be devil's advocate, if you just make a new character that's an angsty murder hobo like it sounds like your current party is, then that might not necessarily be fun. But so keep that in mind. Just going along with what they're doing might not be fun either. So, but I strongly suggest you, especially since there's a time skip, it's not like, you have to have the character walk away in a huff or, fight or whatever. There's been a time skip, so you have a bit of leeway to explain what happened, without having to RP it out laboriously. Yeah, make a new character. That's my vote.
There we go. All right, Ben, how about you? Would you just make a new character?
So I think that the root here is that this person is new to D&D, and the connection between the player and the character is, in some ways, it's hard to disconnect the player and the character. It sounds like the player is playing themselves as a cleric and doesn't want to lie, steal, or kill innocent people as a player, and has chosen a character that wants to do those things as well, who does not want to do those things. And that's the tension that's happening. It's I think that to resolve this long term, you need to put a little bit of space between you and the character. Understand that they have their motivations and they're not the motivations of you as the player. And I think I'm going to agree with Tom here that the way to do that, or help do that, is to create a new character and to make sure that the character's motivations are something that are fairly foreign to you, something perhaps very abstract, like if you're a sorcerer or a mage of some sort that is doing anything they can to gain ultimate power over the forces of the elements, something like that. That is not you as a person, and so you can actually effectively role play that.
So you think there's some bleed happening here a little bit?
Yeah, I think that that line between reality and fantasy is just it's a little too hazy until you've developed the RPG chops to separate yourself from who you are impersonating for several hours.
All right. Well, both of you are completely wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong right now. So, Key Plantain, here we go. At no point in this entire thing did they say they didn't like their character. In fact, quite the opposite. They like their character. And all the concern is not about, well, I'm not feeling this or that. Is I don't want the party to hate me. I'm worried about how I might fit in with the party, or how the party might react to me doing X, Y, and Z. Well, screw the rest of the party. They're the ones making deals with devils. You're the only good one in this party. Stay in there and do what every other cleric out there would do, and try to save them. Redemption, bring them into the fold. So be that person who's saying, I don't think we should do this, guys. Be that person who, no, don't kill them, keep them alive kind of person, because it adds some depth to that story that still fits in with how you want your character to be. And it's on them to either change their ways a little bit or murder you in the dead of night. That's the way these things work out. So as far as I'm concerned, don't do away with them. Now, I will add a caveat, and I'm half joking in this, but like you don't want to be the antagonist. You don't want to be, fighting the party, but there's nothing that says that you can't help guide their decisions and be disappointed in their decisions and vocalize that disappointment even while you're going along with it because of some greater goal that you all have. That's what builds that depth. And maybe your character concentrates on one other character that's the person that I'm going to save, and you have more of an RP connection there that you're trying to pull them out of their kind of evil ways or their bad choice making. There's a lot of ground to cover here. I think it'd be a shame for this person to just start a new character just because theirs has a different worldview than the rest of the party. If you can play it right, they do say they're new to D&D, so I agree, Ben. This is a tough one, but it is doable if you kind of understand there are greater goals, but that doesn't mean you can't vocalize your disagreements with the rest of the party. I don't know what you guys think about that.
And as a counterpoint, though, and the big thing that really kind of caught my attention was that they have trouble finding a reason, like a reasonable doubt for a person. Any reasonable person would not want to be around these people, regardless of if they're like a holy cleric with who's morally against them and taking the high ground and everything like that. Like, you don't want to be near these psychos, and as a normal person. So it becomes a bit of, especially for a new player, it becomes a bit of a struggle. Like, they might love the character and they might love what the character represents, but it becomes a struggle. You feel like you're either going one or two directions. You're either you're struggling to compromise to force them to stay, or you just don't have a reason for them to be there, in which case your motivations kind of dry up for having them be there.
Well, fine then. You guys win. Are you happy now? Now the cleric has to die or go away because yeah, you're probably right. It's
well, and my thought too is because they mention how the new character might not be as a good healer or something like that. Yeah, then the healer goes away, and then just see how the party how their maze might change.
Now they recognize what they had. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Now, anytime they're like, "Oh, we need healing," well, you had a healer, but you guys had to be jerks to everybody, and now the healer's gone. Maybe you learn from your decision making.
Mm-hmm. Lock them in the thieves guild.
This would be a golden opportunity then, like long game, the long game.
Oh,
here.
Have them come back.
Yes, they get the new character that's not a healer, and they learn the error of their ways, not because of, oh, I'm disappointed in you, but more of they have to face real consequences, and then they want the cleric to come back.
All right. I'm digging that a lot. Well, regardless, definitely a tough situation for Key Plantain. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. Hopefully you're able to find a decent way through this. And we'd love to hear what that way was and how it went. So let us know. But that is actually going to do it for us this week. We're over time right now. Remember, if you want to send in your questions or anything you find on the internet, you can send them to questions@potomacrpg.com. Check out our store for merch. We're going to have new season 2 stuff coming, as well as a sale on season 1 stuff. That's at store.potomacrpg.com. And lastly, you can follow us at Potomac RPG on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for being on today, Tom and Ben. Thank you to the rest of the Potomac RPG crew, and of course, all of our wonderful listeners out there. So, for the Potomac RPG Podcast, I'm Adam.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Ben.
Till next time, keep those dice rolling, keep those stories coming, and
never stop playing.
right. See you guys.
Solaris and very monotone and bored.